aren't the cuts you're looking for? Joining me now, Dana Milbank and Angela Rye. Thanks for being on the show.
Hello,
Thank
Reverend.
you, Rev.
Dana, we're joking about Star Wars, but this is serious. How can Republicans intentionally do something they know will cost hundreds of thousands of jobs?
Well, the president was slightly wrong there. There is a secret special sauce to get John Boehner to agree, and it's called Merlot. And if he was pouring that in the room, he might have gotten a little bit closer there. But the fact of the matter is, Reverend, that the Republicans are pretty happy where they are right now. They've got $85 billion in annual cuts to the federal spending, and they've done nothing in exchange for it. It sounds like they're just going to let it sit there for a few weeks. They're not going to offer anything. Then when we get to the end of this spending bill, when the government is in jeopardy of shutting down again, that's when a whole new round of negotiations will start. Maybe then they'll start talking a little bit about taxes.
But that's what is bothering me, Dana. Maybe then they'll start talking. So, like, we're handling this so casually. We're talking about people not having a job. We're talking about families not being able to pay their mortgage or their rent. We're talking about food on the table. And I think that they have just totally dismissed the livelihood of people while they play this brinksmanship in the Beltway, and it's an outrage to me.
There's an extraordinary disconnect right now. This is why America hates Washington. We're all sitting around here arguing about who was responsible for the sequester, whose idea was it 2 years ago. Nobody's actually talking about the effects, the consequences of what is about to occur. The danger, of course, is these things snowball over time, and people are going to say, ha-ha, tomorrow morning, the world's still here. We can cut even more. So I have a feeling this may even embolden the Republicans further. We're a long way from having a rational approach to this.
No, Angela, and I think that's the point, that that the world won't collapse tomorrow, but if you're getting a furlough notice, if you're losing your job, it certainly collapses for you. And the president reached out and said today he would do whatever he could to try to bring this together. Listen to his statement.
It's not as if Democrats aren't being asked to do anything either, to compromise. I mean, there are members of my party who violently disagree with the notion that we should do anything on Medicare. And I'm willing to say to them, I disagree with you, because I want to serve Medicare for the long haul. And we're going to have some tough politics within my party to get this done. Both sides need to be willing to compromise.
Now, he used the word compromise. Use the word Medicare. And I'm one of those that don't want to see Medicare dealt with. But how do you compromise with someone who says things like this? Watch how Speaker Boehner couldn't even bring himself to deal with the word compromise.
But governing means compromising.
It means working together.
It also means compromise.
It means finding common ground. When you say the word compromise, a lot of Americans look up and go, oh, they're going to sell me out.
So you did compromise.
We found common ground.
Why won't you say? You're afraid of the word.
I reject the word.
And Angela, I don't know if he's afraid of the word or afraid of those on the extreme right of his party that use the word as being synonymous with sellout. And when you think of the people that are being impacted and affected by this, do we really have time to care about extremists when we have people that are on the brink of economic ruin? Clearly, and I'm not exaggerating this, if you are furloughed or fired in the interim period, your whole world collapses and will take a whole lot to put it back together again.
Right, and then guess who sold out? You sold out the entire country. You sold out people and their families and their neighbors. So this isn't about selling out. This is about doing the job that you were elected to do. You are absolutely elected to compromise. You are absolutely elected to work with or find common ground with the president. And at the end of the day, when you have 76% of the American people saying, not only do we want you to compromise, but we want you to compromise by finding common ground in this particular policy by implementing revenue raisers, as well as cuts to, frivolous programs or wasteful programs. The president has gone above and beyond by saying, yes, I've stretched my party, but I'm also going to stretch you. I know from firsthand experience with the Congressional Black Caucus, for example, members were adamant about not seeing the sequester happen.
Right.
They, unlike the president, knew what we were dealing with this particular party, with the GOP leadership in the House, Rev. They knew that this GOP was going to boycott their jobs, that this GOP was going to obstruct justice by not being present and by dealing with these real issues. So the president, relying on hope and change and, that these folks would come together for what's best for this country, regardless of blue or red or any other type of party affiliation, stepped out, took a leap of faith, and is getting burned by it now because they are going to go forward with these cuts. And God only knows what's going to happen March 30th with the continuing resolution.
Well, there you go to where I want to go to you, Dana, because you mentioned government shutdown, and Angela just talked about the continuing resolution. Do you think we really could be looking at going from bad to worse? Bad now because some people we already know are getting furlough notices already. And to worse by March 27th facing a government shutdown?
Well, the Republicans are saying they're going to keep government open. They learned their lesson from the Newt Gingrich, Bill Clinton wars of all those years ago. So they say they're not going to do it. That said, there is going to be, at some point, there has to be some sort of a showdown here in order for them to reach this sort of a grand bargain that everybody talks about but that nobody seems to get to. It has to happen at some point. The numbers just at some point won't add up. The president's going to have to give more at some point, but he's quite correct to point out that at a particular, there's nothing for him to give up since they're not coming to the table with anything at all.
And what amazes me, Angela, is we're talking about cuts as opposed to closing loopholes.
That's right.
On private jets, yachts, people that make over $1 million a year in terms of their homes. I mean, we're not talking about things that don't show people that have access. We're talking about hurting people, jobs, cutting programs that help seniors. We're talking about Head Start, as opposed to a guy having a loophole on a yacht, on a private plane. I mean, things that are in many cases toys. I mean, we're really going to do this to American people?
No, Rev, we aren't, but they are desperately trying. And I think, again, when you are talking about death by 1 million cuts, you're saying hundreds of thousand jobs, but some estimates are saying up to 1 million jobs could be furloughed. And so at some point, you've got to say, what really matters? Is it just the 1%? Or am I going to start looking out for the 99%, for all of America, for what's best for government employees, government contractors, children in schools, folks that are traveling? I mean, we really have to look at the totality of the circumstances and say it's time to find common ground or compromise. Don't tell them I said it.
It's amazing. Dana Milbank and Angela Wright, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks,
Live long
Rev.
and prosper, Reverend.
Yes.
Coming up, these cuts will mean real pain for real Americans. And that's why President Obama just unloaded on Republicans today. Plus, Ira Glass from the American Life is here to talk gun violence. What is happening in Chicago? A tragic story we all need to know about. And First Lady Michelle Obama responds to the kooky right-wing attacks. Also having a lot of fun.
Let's have some fun. Are you ready? All right, let's move.
Big Friday show coming your way. Stay with us.
Blue moon, you saw me standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Blue moon, you knew just what I was there for. You heard me saying a prayer.